They followed him because he promised love, equality, heaven on earth. But what they got was a nightmare. He said it was the only way to be free. And over 900 people obeyed, even the children. This is not just a cult. This is a graveyard built on blind faith. Subscribe to Unbelievable True Story. Because sometimes the truth is more terrifying than fiction. Number 1. Jim Jones. Jim Jones was a white man with slick black hair and dark sunglasses. He stood on stage like a rock star. He spoke with power. When he preached, people cried. They shouted. They believed. He called his group the People's Temple. He said they were building a new world. A world of peace and love. A world without racism. A world where the poor would be rich and the sick would be healed. People followed him by the hundreds. At first, Jim ran his church in Indiana, then moved to California. That's where things changed. He started calling himself a prophet. He said God spoke to him. He said the world would end soon. Only his followers would be saved. Anyone who left the church would be punished. And the government? He said they were demons trying to destroy them. People stopped talking to their families. They gave Jim all their money. They let him control their jobs and their lives. In the 1970s, Jim moved his people to a jungle in Guyana, South America. He called it Jonestown. He told them it was paradise. No racism. No war. No hate. A fresh start. Over 900 people moved there. They built homes. Planted crops. Worked from sunrise to sunset. But paradise wasn't real. There were armed guards. No one could leave. People were starving. Jim's voice played over loudspeakers all day, even at night. He called it White Night. He said they were always under attack. He trained people for suicide drills. And worst of all, he made the people believe dying for him was love. In 1978, a U.S. congressman named Leo Ryan flew to Jonestown to check on the people. Some said they were being held prisoner. Others said they wanted to go home. At first, Jim welcomed him. He smiled and lied. But when the congressman tried to leave with some followers, Jim gave the order. Kill them. Armed men opened fire at the airstrip. Congressman Ryan was murdered, shot over 20 times. So were others. The world would soon find out what was happening in Jonestown. And Jim Jones knew his time was up. After the murders at the airstrip, Jim called everyone to the big meeting hall. He told them the end had come. He said the U.S. would invade. That their children would be tortured. That there was only one escape. Revolutionary suicide. They mixed cyanide with Flavor Aid, not Kool-Aid, like people say. They lined up. Mothers gave the poison to their babies first. Then the adults drank. Some ran. Some cried. But there were guards with guns. No one could escape. When it was over 900 people were dead. More than 300 were children. Jim Jones was found dead too, shot in the head. Maybe by his own hand. Maybe not. When U.S. soldiers found Jonestown, the scene was horrific. Bodies were everywhere. Side by side. Face down in the dirt. A whole town gone. People couldn't believe it. Why didn't they run? Why did they drink it? How could one man make so many people die? But it happened. Because of control. Because of fear. Because of faith in the wrong hands. Jim Jones promised heaven. He gave them hell. He didn't just kill people. He stole their minds. He turned love into death. Number 2. Charles Manson. Charles Manson was not just a man. He was a storm. He believed he was a god. His followers believed him too. And when he whispered the word kill, they obeyed. Charles Manson was born in 1934, in Ohio. His mother was just 16 years old. His father left before he was born. Charles grew up in pain. He was in and out of jail. He stole. He lied. He felt invisible. But in prison, he found a new power: music and manipulation. He said, if you can't be famous, be infamous. And that's what he became. In the 1960s, California was full of freedom, music, and dreams. Charles Manson moved to San Francisco, then to Los Angeles. He started gathering young people around him. They were mostly girls. Teenagers. Lost. Searching. He gave them love, drugs, and a place to stay. He called them his family. They called him Charlie. Their leader. Their father. Their God. He told them the world was ending soon. And they would be the ones to start a new one. Charles believed in something called Helter Skelter. It was based on a song by the Beatles. But in Charlie's mind, it meant a coming race war. He told his followers that black people would rise up and kill all white people. Except for them. He said after the war, his family would come out of hiding and rule the world. But first, they had to start the war. How? By killing. It was the night of August 8, 1969. Manson told 4 of his followers. Tex Watson. Susan Atkins. Patricia Krenwinkel. Linda Kasabian. Go to that house and make it witchy. The house belonged to Sharon Tate, a famous actress. She was 8 months pregnant. Inside were Sharon. Her friends. Her unborn baby. What happened that night was pure terror. The Manson followers stabbed and shot everyone. Sharon begged for her baby's life. They killed her anyway. They wrote the word pig in blood on the wall. The next night, Manson wanted more. He went with his followers and picked a new house, Leno and Rosemary LaBianca. He tied them up. Told his people to kill again. They obeyed. Knives. Forks. Blood on the walls again. Words like rise and death to pigs. Charlie didn't kill them. But he told others to do it. And they did it for him. It took months for police to figure out who did it. At first, they thought the murders were random. But soon, all signs pointed to Manson and his family. In late 1969, Charles Manson was arrested, along with many of his followers. In court, he smiled. He danced. He carved an X on his forehead. The girls shaved their heads. They chanted for him. They said they would die for him. The trial was long and disturbing. Charles Manson didn't speak much. He let his girls talk. They said they killed for love. For Charlie. For a better world. But the jury didn't believe them. Manson and his followers were found guilty of murder. They were all given the death penalty. But later, it was changed to life in prison. Charles Manson spent the rest of his life in prison. He gave interviews. He stared into the camera like a snake. He said he wasn't sorry. He died in 2017, at age 83. But his name still brings fear. Because he didn't just kill people. He killed minds. He turned love into murder. He showed how dangerous one man's words can be. Number 3, Shoko Asahara. Shoko Asahara was born in 1955, in a small town in Japan. His real name was Chizuo Matsumoto. He was born nearly blind. He could only see a little with one eye. As a child, he was sent to a school for the blind. But instead of kindness, he bullied the other blind students. He hit them. He stole from them. He wanted to be in control. Even then, something was wrong. As he grew older, Asahara studied yoga, Buddhism, and magic. He started calling himself a healer. He opened a shop selling fake medicine and miracle salt. Soon, he claimed he could cure sickness, read minds, and even fly. People laughed at him at first, but others started to believe. He changed his name to Shoko Asahara. And in 1987, he started a cult called Om Shinrikyo, meaning the supreme truth. At first, Om looked peaceful. Asahara wore long robes and meditated. His followers bowed to him and called him master. He told them the world was ending. Only those who followed him would be saved. He said he was Jesus, Buddha, and God in one. People believed. College students, doctors, scientists. Even children joined the group. They gave up their families. They shaved their heads. They followed every word he said. Behind closed doors, Om was building something dark. Asahara used his smart followers to create weapons. They made chemicals. They trained in secret bunkers. They studied deadly gases. He told them they had to destroy the non-believers. He said killing was mercy. He called it salvation by death. Soon, people started to vanish. In 1989, a man named Tsutsumi Sakamoto began to investigate Om. He was a lawyer. He thought Om was dangerous. He planned to sue them. But before he could, he and his whole family disappeared. The truth? Om members had broken into their home and killed them. The police couldn't prove it yet. So Om kept growing. They opened schools. They built labs. They were even allowed on TV. People thought it was just another weird religion. They were wrong. On the morning of March 20th, 1995, everything changed. 5 Om followers walked into Tokyo's subway system. Each carried plastic bags filled with a clear liquid. It was sarin gas, a deadly chemical used in war. The men got on 5 different trains. At the same time, they dropped the bags and poked them with sharp umbrellas. Then they got off the trains. And death began. The gas filled the train cars in minutes. People began choking. Some went blind. Some collapsed. Screams echoed through the tunnels. Outside, no one knew what was happening. But by the end of that day, 13 people were dead. Over 5,000 were hurt. Tokyo was in panic. It was the worst attack on Japan since World War II. And the people behind it were Om Shinrikyo. Police raided Om's buildings. What they found was shocking. Gas masks. Poison. Rockets. Tunnels. Plans for more attacks. They arrested hundreds of members. And finally, they found Asahara. He was hiding in a wall. Silent. Still dressed like a god. Shoko Asahara was put on trial in 2004. He said almost nothing. Sometimes he growled. Sometimes he stared. He never said sorry. He was found guilty of murder, terrorism, and many more crimes. In 2018, after years in prison, he was executed by hanging, along with many of his top followers. People thought Asahara was holy. But he was full of hate. He used faith to kill. He used science for death. And he showed how far people can fall when they put their souls in the hands of evil. Number 4. David Koresh. David Koresh was born in 1959. His real name was Vernon Howell. He grew up in Houston, Texas. His father left. His mother was just 14. He was poor, bullied, and alone. But David loved one thing, the Bible. He read it more than anyone. He could remember every verse. And he said he could hear God's voice. When he was older, David moved to Waco, Texas. He found a group called the Branch Davidians. They were a small religious group waiting for Jesus to return. David joined them. Then he started preaching. He played guitar. He quoted scripture. And the people believed him. He said the leader should be him. There was a power fight. David won. Now, he was their new Messiah. David and his followers moved to a large property called Mount Carmel Center, outside of Waco. There they lived like a family. Men. Women. Children. Over 100 people. David controlled everything. He said the world would end soon. He was the final prophet. God told him to take many wives. Some of those wives were very young girls. People started to worry. But inside the compound, the followers didn't ask questions. They trusted David Koresh. David wasn't just collecting followers. He was collecting weapons. Boxes of guns, ammo, and even grenades were piling up. He said the government was evil. He told his people they had to prepare for war. They trained like soldiers. And soon, the US government took notice. On February 28, 1993, the ATF, Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, sent over 70 agents to raid the compound. They had a search warrant. But Koresh already knew they were coming. When the agents arrived, gunfire broke out. Who shot first? No one knows for sure. But the battle lasted hours. 4 ATF agents died. 6 Branch Davidians were killed. And the standoff began. The FBI surrounded Mount Carmel. They brought tanks, negotiators, and loudspeakers. They wanted Koresh to come out. But he said God told him to wait. Inside, the people stayed loyal. Even as the power was cut. Even as food ran low. Even as tanks circled their home. David said they were waiting for a sign from heaven. On April 19, 1993, the FBI moved in. They filled the compound with tear gas. They hoped to force everyone out. But instead, fire broke out. Flames spread quickly. The entire building burned. In just minutes, Mount Carmel was ashes. Inside, 76 people died. That included David Koresh. And 25 children. Only a few escaped. Some say David Koresh started the fire. Others say the government caused it. An investigation found that the FBI didn't start the fire. But they used tear gas. And may have made it worse. Either way, 76 lives were lost. Because of one man's belief. America was shocked. People argued on TV. In court. In churches. Was Koresh a prophet? Or just a dangerous cult leader? Some still believe in him today. Others call it a mass suicide. But one thing is clear. David Koresh took God's name and turned it into a weapon. Number 5, Marshall Applewhite. Before the wild eyes and sci-fi prophesies, Marshall Applewhite was an ordinary man. Born in 1931 in Texas, he was the son of a Presbyterian preacher. Applewhite was smart, charismatic, and musically gifted. He became a music professor and choir director. He taught students, loved opera, and even had a family. But things started to fall apart in the early 1970s. He lost his job. His marriage ended. And then, something changed. Applewhite met a nurse named Bonnie Nettles. And the two began to believe they had a mission far beyond Earth. Bonnie Nettles believed in astrology and the occult. Applewhite was searching for meaning. Together, they claimed to be the two witnesses described in the book of Revelation. Their mission? To prepare humanity for the end of the world. They traveled across the country, preaching that Earth was about to be recycled, and that the only escape was to shed one's human form and ascend to the next level, a kind of heavenly alien existence aboard a spacecraft. They called their group Heaven's Gate. Their message was strange. But some people listened. Some followed. They left their families. Gave up everything. And followed Applewhite and Nettles into the unknown. In 1985, Bonnie Nettles died of cancer. Applewhite was devastated. How could she die if they were both supposed to ascend to the next level? He struggled. But then, he found an explanation. He told his followers that Nettles had not died, she had transcended her body. She had gone to the spacecraft, and they would one day join her. From then on, Applewhite became more intense. More rigid. More apocalyptic. He began making videotapes, speaking directly to his followers, and later, to the internet. He wore all black. His eyes looked wild. But his tone was calm. Convincing. He told his followers they were chosen. That their human bodies were just vehicles. Shells. Containers. And when the time came, they would be instructed to leave them behind. Heaven's Gate was not a free-flowing cult. It was a controlled environment. Members gave up their names. Their identities. They wore identical clothes. Ate identical meals. They shaved their heads. Slept in bunks. Avoided contact with family. There was no sex. No drugs. No relationships. Only devotion. Applewhite told them these earthly things were distractions. To ascend to the next level, they had to detach completely. Many of the members even volunteered for castration. A horrifying act, but to them, it was purity. It was sacrifice. The Hale-Bopp comet appeared in the night sky. And Applewhite believed it was the sign. He told his followers that a spaceship was hiding behind the comet, invisible to earthly instruments. The time had come. The gate was open. They rented a mansion in Rancho Santa Fe, California. They wore matching black outfits and Nike sneakers. They filmed farewell videos. Calm. Smiling. Thanking Applewhite. Then, over 3 days, they consumed a mix of barbiturates and alcohol, sealed plastic bags over their heads, and one by one, they died. 39 people. When police entered the house, they found all of them laid out on bunk beds. Covered in purple shrouds. Neat. Precise. Chilling. Even after death, Heaven's Gate didn't vanish. The cult had a website. And to this day, 2 surviving members still run it. They respond to emails. They keep the memory alive. Because they still believe. Videos of Applewhite can still be found online. His voice, calm and eerie, still delivers the message. He truly believed what he preached. And so did his followers. The tragedy of Heaven's Gate wasn't just in the deaths. It was in the belief. The control. The surrender. It was a reminder of how far people can go when they seek belonging. How did 39 educated, thoughtful people give up their lives for a promise that was never real? The answer is complex. It involves loneliness, manipulation, hope, fear, and the overwhelming power of a leader who spoke with certainty in an uncertain world. Applewhite wasn't just a cult leader. He was a symbol of a deeper problem, the human need to believe in something more. Today, Heaven's Gate is remembered as one of the most shocking cult tragedies in U.S. history. It has become a symbol in documentaries, books, and podcasts. But it's more than just a story. It's a warning. A warning about the power of belief. The danger of isolation. And what happens when one man claims to hold the key to salvation. Because in the end, the comet passed. No spaceship came. And 39 souls were lost to a promise that was never real. Subscribe to Unbelievable True Story for more real-life horrors and haunting truths. Because some stories are too strange to be fiction.